Welcome back to Super Sentai Reviews. This is episode number 8. And this one I'm reviewing the film Gaoranger vs. Super Sentai. Interesting name. This is the 25th anniversary of the Super Sentai series at this point. Of course, this film came out back in 2001. So this film is exactly 25 years old. Yep, actually no, not 25. It came out 15 years ago. It came out during a period of time when I think it came out when Gaoranger was on the air. Let's see here. Just want to check something here. Yeah, it came out during a period of time when Gaoranger was actually on the air. Now, in this film, simply put, you have just the Gaorangers. This is before they had the Lone Wolf Ranger show up. Yeah, before he showed up, they had it where just the original 5, just taking on the grunts like usual, and then all of a sudden some shaking happens, and then this this Fallen Highness, how you pronounce his name? His name is Lost Highness Hyakujuu. I think I'd say pronounce his name. With basically having that's Jinxer, and Tatsu, that's Toxica. And prior to him making his appearance, apparently he had the power to turn these two, the Duke Orgs, making their horns gold and making the horns on the grunts basically bigger. And they got strong, and they were to beat the Gaorangers, and then they got caught in some illusion, though the Gao Red was so smart, he basically tackled the Gao White, basically so she wouldn't get caught in the illusions. And simply put, he had her lead the other 3 Rangers away just to make sure to get away from the Lost Highness. And he spent the majority of the film, like the first half of it, simply battling illusions. Actually, a good majority of it, anyways. So basically, I think they failed, and this wandering monk shows up and tells them about there's other 5-colored warriors like themselves, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I think they lose confidence, and then their their G phones, like they're called ground morphers in Wild Force, and they go to the village people. Now for Gao White, her G phone goes to Mega Pink. Yep, and pretty much she talks about about the whole history of the female warrior, about how they're masters of the skies, and she can talk about a lesson basically. And there's a montage of this, and it's Bioman, a music from Bioman. This one and the second one, they do it for as sort of a montage in a way. And she talked about something that happened during Mega Range. It's like she loses confidence in herself, and then of course they tells her like get back to it. Gal Black runs into the Genki from Gingamon, the blue Ginga Ranger. I thought this was so funny, and his lesson from him is to basically talk about the Rangers who are known for performing heavy attacks on enemies. That was the whole point of him. And of course, him also talking about what happened with him during Gingamon, where he's sort of a gentle giant on the way. He's actually he looks like he's a pretty big guy. And that was Gal Black who ran into him. And I thought this was so funny. Gal Blue ran into what's his name from Go-Go 5. Ran into Go Yellow. Yeah, it was so funny. Ran into him, and he his lesson was basically to learn about is to talk about the Rangers known for their speed attacks, like light attacks and what very powerful ones. And of course, he also talked about during his time with a little bit talk about his time as member of the Go-Go 5 with his four siblings. Pretty interesting ones. Now, who the Gal Yellow 2 is a Sentai I did not watch yet. The other three ones I did watch it for, which was Mega Pink, Gingamon, and Go-Go 5. Those three I have watched. And of course, if you want to know my thoughts on them, you can check out the early episodes of this. I think I did like episode 1 on on Gingamon. Episode 2, episode 2 was on Mega Ranger. Yeah, I think Go-Go 5 was like episode 4 or 5. I'm not sure which one it was. But it was one of the early episodes, one of the first few episodes I talked about them. Now, who Gal Yellow runs into, he runs into Red Falcon from Live Man. Yeah, Live Man. Now, like I've said, this is a Sentai I have never watched it at all. I plan to do. It's actually Live Man is the 12th Sentai. Yes, and it's from the second era of the Super Sentai. The first three are from the current one, and basically what his lesson was talk about all the various swordsmen, all the great swordsmen who were Super Sentai warriors over the course of the 25-year period. He, of course, even taught them basically how to get his confidence back when it comes to dueling. Anyways, yeah. And as for who the monk is, he actually figured it out with when after not long after Mega Pink. Of course, Tatsu went after Mega Pink, and Yama went after Gal Yellow. Apparently, had friendly rivalry. Yeah, they kept that in Wild Force. And how Red Falcon is introduced is quite interesting. Apparently, his four fellow live man apparently passed away after Live Man concluded. Apparently, it's been 12 years. So, and he just after Graves, and of course Yaba basically is being disrespectful, but usually puts his foot on one of the graves. I don't remember which one it was. He puts his foot on the graves, and it says in Japanese, of course, it's a Sentai, remove that leg. And he's like, huh? Who are you? And then he just morphs right into his live man suit and beats the crap out of him. It was so funny. So he disrespects a grave and he gets his butt beat by the guy who actually is closest to these people. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. But let's see. What else? And of course, also as part of this film, yeah, the guy cast illusions of monsters that were already defeated prior to this very movie. Yeah, a bunch, including like the very first. There was a total of 6 monsters he brought back, and now I'm going to reveal who the Wandering Monk was. He occasionally helps out, but who he really is quite interesting. It's when Tatsatsu and Yama reunite and try to take out the two Pink Rangers. And he reveals himself. He is actually, believe it or not, yeah, in the film he refers himself as the Jock Lightning Strike Commander. Big One. And every time I see this guy's helmet, I'm like, how the heck can he see? I mean, his helmet is simply like a thing with like, I mean, in the case of the other ones, I can tell how he can see at that thing. I can tell he can breathe, but what were the tiny holes for? I mean, I get the fact those are for breathing, but are they also for seeing as well? Yeah, it's very bizarre, to say the least. It's like he has all these like 20 holes in his helmet, and I keep wanting to know, how the heck can he see? It's the same thing with Gaoranger. It's the same thing with them. Like, if you actually seen footage with them, if you've seen their Sentai, their helmets are essentially just like regular helmets. Look like they don't have visors on them. They have these little tiny little holes so the actors can actually breathe. And I'm like, wow, this is something. But it's kind of nice to see the guy. Even though I watched like one episode of Jock, it's actually pretty interesting of a show. I haven't watched the episodes featuring him. Now, Jock, I should point out, is the shortest of all the Sentais. It's only 34 episodes long. Unlike the first two, like the first one was like 80 episodes, second one was like 34. Generally, each Sentai tends to be about 48 to about 52 episodes apiece. That's how generally they tend to be. I think the shortest they may get is maybe about 47. The highest they may go is, I think, about 55 episodes per se. But that's the highest they go. And I think that was Bioman was actually the longest one. It was actually second longest one behind the original Super Sentai Gaoranger. Of course, they show footage of Gaoranger frequently of the whole thing. Excuse me. And excuse me. The whatchamacallit? The let's see. Yeah, they beat the crap out of him, and they and while the Gaorangers take on the Lost Highness, and by the way, Wiki refers to this team of Retro Rangers. They refer to them as the Dream Team. I am not kidding. That is what the Wiki refers to them as, the Dream Team. Basically, you have 3 Sentai Rangers from the third generation, the current era, this particular, from the previous era. Gaoranger is the start of the current era, and these 3 are from the previous era. They have also one from the second era, and of course the big one from Jock, which kind of did make sense because they actually included the first 2 Sentais when they announced that O-Ranger was the 19th one, not the 17th Super Sentai. Yeah. But this is a really fun movie. Heck, there's even there's some really cool scenes with it, like when Lost Highness goes giant sized, and while they try to use Gal Muscle to take him on, he basically almost destroys Gal Muscle, and so Red Falcon summons every single like Zord in the existence of Super Sentai, and they all fire on him. Yeah, they basically fired all their weapons at him. And after the Gaorangers from the original Gao Zord, which I think is called the 100 Beast Force, I think it is. I think that's what they call it. They of course destroy him in giant size form. Of course, also prior to that, they have like a montage of every single Megazord from Battle J up until Time Ranger. All those previous ones. The previous I think it's about 22 Megazords. Yeah. So they show like all pictures of them, of every single Megazord that's happened in Super Sentai. And it's quite nice to see all these things in action. And seeing clips of all this stuff, seeing all these ships in action is amazing. It's like Toei went all out to celebrate the fact, yeah, this is the 25th anniversary of the Super Sentai franchise. So let's throw everything in, and I do mean everything. But all the Zords are generally like Red Ranger Zords. That's typically what it is. And then after his first form was destroyed, he's sort of reborn thanks to the fact that the two Duke Orcs has some of his power in it, so he uses to reborn himself. And he tries like, I think I'll infect the whole world. He just walks away. And they're about to give up, and then all of a sudden, and this is probably the coolest image that I have ever seen. And this image is on Ranger Wicca. Ranger Super Sentai Wicca. It is, in fact, Red Falcon summoning all of the previous Red Super Sentai Rangers. Every single one. From Aki Red, who was the first from Gaoranger. Him up until Time Red. Though the actors were not there to reprise their roles. But it is the amazing sight to see this thing. And the way that the Red Ranger destroys the Lost Highness is by using sort of the combined might of all 25, like including himself and the previous 24 Super Sentai Red Warriors, and he destroys Lost Highness, and they go home and try to tell Totem. That is basically Princess Shayla's counterpart in the Sentai footage. Basically that they actually realize Highness. It's like, nah, I don't believe you. Like, it was all a dream. But it was really fun to see. And of course, the credits is simply just showing off every single Megazord formation that existed prior to this. So, what did I think of this film? This film was freaking amazing. And I can tell that the writers were actually kind of fans of the Super Sentai franchise because they paid a humongous respect to this franchise. Now, I get bringing in 3 from the previous era, 1 from the 80s, and 1 from the 70s. I get the fact why they did that, because they wanted to have 5 Rangers. But, yeah. But I kind of have to ask, why these particular 5? This kind of feels like 5 random Rangers. They just picked out of a hat and just happened to have... Maybe these actors would just happen to be available at this point. That's just my personal theory when it comes to that. Though it was odd seeing the Q-Rex counterpart. It's odd seeing that. Now, I get the reason why that Zord is there. Because in Time Ranger, which was the previous Sentai prior to this, that Zord was actually left behind in present day. Because the Red Ranger kept the Time Ranger Morpher. Yeah, he actually kept it after Timefire was killed. So it kind of does make sense, the fact that would be there. And maybe one day, I keep thinking though, maybe he'll find somebody to replace the previous Timefire. Who knows? He actually, I know he kept the Morpher, but it's quite nice. But this overall is a really good film. But you have to get to a certain point in the actual series in order to kind of, well, get this far. But, that's better. As for when this takes place, in the Gaoranger series, it does not say. Let me see if I can find out on, maybe this will tell me. Excuse me. No. Now, let's see. It seems like it takes place between episodes 14 and 15. That's what it seems like it takes place. hmm So it kind of takes place pretty early on in the Sentai. In this particular one. Yeah, so it's kind of pretty early on. Between Quest. Yeah, it's called Quest. 14 and 15. So that's where this one takes place. Okay, so that's it for this. Pretty much, I get this film a 9.5 out of 10. It's a great film to watch. But the way I watched it was split into 5 parts because that's how basically I found it. So that's it for this episode. In the next episode, I will talk about Gaoranger, the Sentai used for Soup Maker first. Oh, also before I go, there's some concepts in here. Now, this movie was not adapted into Reinforcements for the Future. That's what you probably think. Oh, maybe this is what Reinforcements for the Future comes from. No, Reinforcements for the Future uses no Sentai footage at all. They use some concepts of this in Forever Red, like the concept of the all the Red Rangers that existed at that point, which actually were 9, but they include the Quantum Ranger because he's also red as well. And the whole like dream team in a way, like 5 random rangers. They kind of use that for Once a Ranger. They use that idea. So the Retro Rangers, their counterpart is the Dream Sentai from this movie, and the all red team, they actually use that for forever. So you use concepts in this movie, there's not an actual team of what the previous Sentai. It's actually one of 2. This actually did that, where as part of an anniversary, they don't team up with the previous Sentai team. Excuse me. I have not watched yet Gaoranger. I think that's how you pronounce it. It is the, let's see, what is it called? Hyakujuu. Yeah, it's the Sentai used for Operation Overdrive. I have not watched Gaoranger versus Super Sentai yet, so I don't know exactly how it works there. But I want to talk about Gaoranger first and how humongously different it is from Super Mega Force. Oh, yes. But, yeah. So, that is it. So, until then, I will see you all in my next episode. Okay? Bye.